we've been trying to do with CommBank Health and Smart Health, quite similar to some of the objectives and the approaches that Dean mentioned, but with obviously a slightly different customer set. Our customers are the various stakeholders in the broader healthcare ecosystem, which most obviously are the healthcare providers, who are the businesses that offer clinical services to patients. So patients are another very key important stakeholder, but also importantly are the payers in healthcare. And often the patient is only one payer in any treatment. Typically, there's a large government payer, whether it be Medicare or the NDIS or one of the sort of state-based workers' compensation schemes, or it could be a private business like a private health insurance provider. And what our value proposition really tries to do is connect those stakeholders in a way that's sort of more consistent with our experiences in other areas when we're booking a ride or having food delivered to our home or booking accommodation, which is very different today to how it was maybe 10 or 15 or 20 years ago. But our healthcare experience, our non-clinical healthcare experience is still the same as it was 20 or 30 years ago, because there really hasn't been that much innovation or improvement of the end user experience as there have been in other areas. And so we took inspiration really from other industries, from other experiences, to build out a modern value proposition that delivered benefits to all those stakeholders that I mentioned before. Core to our thinking really was the patient-provider experience. Providers in particular, because again, they're facing similar challenges to the ones that Dean just outlined. They're dealing with growing demand at a time where costs are getting higher, but their ability to meet that demand through supply is also challenged. There's a real shortage of healthcare professionals and support workers in the healthcare industry around the world. And so people are getting older, living longer, living with more illnesses and comorbidities that need treatment. People are much more aware of their health. They're spending a lot more of their discretionary income on their wellness and on their health. So there's this, growing demand coming from a number of areas for healthcare services from healthcare professionals, but healthcare professionals aren't necessarily able to just add capacity to meet that demand. So they have to find other ways to do that. What we help them do is remove a lot of the admin work associated with how do they take a booking, how do they market their presence, how do they process payments and claims, which are typically quite manual and paper-based and multi-step. How do we make all those things much more efficient? How do we connect that patient journey in a way that patients are comfortable doing in almost every aspect of their life, as I mentioned before? And so what we did was we designed a solution that connected the search, book, pay and claim experience in a way that hadn't really been done before. And we've done it in a staged approach. So, we've delivered a solution that utilizes a FPOS terminal, a device, but again, it's a smart device utilizing an Android interface. No need to print off a receipt and sign a meter-long receipt, which has to be stored by the provider and then searched manually whenever there's a query or a dispute or an audit. The patient signs with their finger on glass, and that receipt is captured, essentially online for the provider to be able to search anytime they want by searching by the patient name, the value, the date, or whatever other parameter they want to use. It's not a tethered terminal. Our integrations into the practice management software for the very first time, at least in this market, are cloud-based. So you can meet the accessibility needs of your patients by moving that terminal around the clinic. You can't stand up at the counter. You can take it off the cradle and take it to where someone might be sitting, or into the consultation rooms themselves, for example. But most importantly is we've also designed it in a way that doesn't need to rely on a terminal at all, and leverage the mega trends that we're seeing in the broader economy, which is have the whole experience in app.
So when the consultation is completed, the clinicians normally put in clinical notes into a practice management software. They then would typically then push that claim and that payment from the practice management software to a terminal where we allow them to push it to the patient's app of choice, whether that be their private health insurance app, or in future their Medicare app or the booking app they might be using, a Hot Docs or Health Engine, or the provider's own proprietary app that patient may have potentially used to book, for example, or they can go back and have a look at their pathology results or any other sort of information around the treatment they just had. And so core to our proposition is partnering. So partnering with the providers of those experiences, both the clinical, like the provider experience being the practice management software, or the patient experience, whether that be the private health fund or the booking engine, for example. Partnering with organisations like SHAPE, and we're working with them around perhaps some of the embedded finance requirements that might be needed by some of our partners. Partnering with data and analytics businesses to really help surface insights to our provider customers in their workflow so they can understand, Linda's just come in for a consultation. We know what additional conversations we need to have with her to ensure that she's getting the proper consultation and treatment, or how do I more efficiently manage my staff to support the changing demand of my patients that might want to come in at different times of the day, different days of the week. For example, how am I comparing to other businesses like me, and where there are opportunities for me to again more efficiently manage my business or grow my business, and then partnering with other payments businesses as well that might play in other areas of that complex payment chain. So we're very excited to be working in a space that's just so important. Every Australian has to interact with the healthcare ecosystem, several times a year. It's a world leading healthcare system, at least from the provision of clinical care, but we see huge opportunity around the rest of that experience, and being able to free up healthcare professionals to do what they love and best at, which is provide clinical support and clinical care to their patients by reducing the admin, is something that really drives us every day.
Wow, thank you. This is such an amazing solution. It's really powerful. Obviously, you mentioned a lot of the stakeholders that had pain points, that you looked at the providers, the customers. I'm curious to understand what was the main decision points that CommWealth started to build this smart health?
When we looked at really understanding particularly the health provider environment, doctors and dentists, allied health professionals, and where we could add value, even before we decided, payments and claims was an area that we wanted to go into. We found the biggest pain point in the space that we felt we were entitled to play was in this space. If we can help simplify payments and claims, it earns us the right as a bank, as a full service bank, to then talk to these healthcare providers about a whole bunch of other things that we already do, lending and transaction banking and equipment finance, etc. But we felt that the biggest pain point for them was getting paid, particularly if let's say you're a physiotherapist, and how you get paid is determined by the type of patient, or the patient that walks into your clinic at any point in time. They could be coming in because they're on the NDIS. Then you've got to make a claim via the NDIS. Or they could be a workers' compensation client, or private health insurance, or actually Medicare, or they're just walking in and out of pocket. There are 20 or 30 different patient personas, and depending on that patient will determine what process you as a physiotherapist need to go through to get paid. And all that pain, all that friction is on the physiotherapist, on that business owner. So our strong desire and belief that what we could do is that we simplify that. We take away that pain, we make it a consistent experience, we create a whole bunch of time, and hopefully build a great affinity between those healthcare providers and the Commonwealth Bank brand, so that we can then have a right to talk to them about all their other needs. So really, it was born from a desire of, like, where can we make a real difference? Where are the biggest pain points, in order for us to grow our relationship more broadly in the healthcare industry?